Ilya Aronovich, welcome to My Corona.
Yeah, glad to be here. Glad to have recovered. Thank God I
Yes,
feel well. So, it's all good.
yes. So the reason I wanted to have you on is you are, well, first of all, you're one of my good friends and someone I care deeply about, and someone who is currently recovering from the coronavirus.
Or I guess I should say recovered. Recovered from the coronavirus. I think I'm like my last fever was like 5 days ago. So I think I'm qualified. I'm qualified to say that I recovered. Although, as I told you earlier, I'm planning in a couple of days to go and give blood so they can get antibodies out of it and help other people. And by the way, for anyone that recovers, for every time that you give blood, you can help two people.
Really?
But they say that in order to do that, I have to be 21 days after my first fever.
Okay.
So,
Ooh.
they're not asking. They're not even asking like, did you take a test? Did you not take a test? As long as you think you had it, come. And then they'll take the blood. They'll make sure that you have antibodies and so on and so forth.
I got you. So now, in spite of your beautiful background of the Kotel in
Yeah.
Jerusalem, you're actually in New York, yes?
Yes, I'm actually in New York. Yeah.
So
But my background is where my mind is all the time.
I got it. You know, you'll never forget Jerusalem. I get it.
Yeah.
But so I'm so happy to see you smiling. You have no idea. This was relatively mild for you. I guess last time, you told me that you had it, you were not feeling well, but I have another good friend of
When
mine.
you say relatively mild, as in I didn't end up in the hospital with breathing issues, yeah, but it was by no means. It was probably one of the worst things that I had.
Wow. Okay.
It was super scary. It started off with an ear infection, and I thought I had an ear infection. I went to the doctor. He gave me antibiotics, and then a little bit of a fever, and then all of a sudden, something changed basically overnight, where it went from like a low grade fever to like a 92. I'm sorry, to a 102.9, and it felt like a black blanket of coronavirus envelops you and just takes you out, like a Mack truck hits you, and that's it. And then um, it's just a general feeling of like you don't know if you're going to make it through.
Yes. Well, that's so we talked last week. You were at the ear infection phase and with headaches, I think, but you didn't have the blanket of corona at that point.
Yeah, I had not really headaches, but earaches. So thank God that the ear is better. I actually went to the doctor today, so the ear is looking better. It's still a little bit stuffy, but we're gonna stay off the prednisone for now, just because I'm in the after effects of the coronavirus. But hopefully it'll resolve on its own. The doc did say it's looking a lot better.
Okay. And your wife, who is a physician, did she catch it as well, or?
So we think that she caught a super light version of it, and she got a little bit of cough, which I think she even has till now, and she had a very sore throat, and she had a sore tongue. Now, some people are going to get it in a super, super, super mild way, and so that's typical. There are some people who are gonna. I have another friend that didn't even have a fever. He lost the sense of taste. He lost the sense of smell. He had some body aches. He had some tiredness, and he was waking up in sweats every morning, but he never had fever, and he's also fully recovered. So, different people are going to respond differently to this. I happened to spend like almost 2 weeks in bed, 9 days, getting up to basically drink. I lost I was on a diet beforehand, but the virus helped me lose another couple of pounds.
Wow. Okay. So last time we talked, you were mostly in bed because when we talked, you were last week. You seemed like you were up and around. No.
I was listen. I was up and around. I was up and around, but not on the really 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 hard days. I had 4 really really hard days, and during those days I was almost exclusively in bed. I got up to use the bathroom to get a drink of water, to take my vitamin C's and my antibiotics for my ear infection. That's about.
That's it. So how are the kids? We lost your audio there. There you go. How are the kids? I was asking.
Kids are all doing well. Listen, they all have some kind of cough, some kind of throat pain, but the kids get it relatively mild.
Yeah. So were they taking care of you?
They weren't. I wouldn't let them near me.
That's great. So what have you learned from doing this?
So, I learned that you should not take life for granted, because listen, thank God I came out of it. I came out of it well, but I think, there's a lot of people. I was told that in our local hospital over here, in the hospital system, that's North Shore and LIJ, and this is from a week ago, that there's 800 COVID patients, and that 20% of them are in the ICU. And my wife,
this is in Long Island, right?
Long Island, yeah. My wife, who's an OBGYN, is saying that they now closed down the maternity ward. They're using the maternity ward for ICU patients, and because they're not doing any ambulatory surgeries are in a different building. And so mothers, once they've delivered, are now being basically brought with their babies to this ambulatory surgery center that's not functioning at this point. No more private rooms. Everybody just, together with, just some measly separations between them. And of course, Americans aren't used to this kind of life, but all over the world, people deliver like this all the time.
Yeah. So that's amazing. So how is it like generally in Long Island for you?
So in Long Island, everything is closed. Our mayor of our village and the neighboring village was very proactive. He immediately, he's also a doctor, also an OBGYN, and he closed down. He closed down everything that he could in town. First, he said, we shouldn't have any meetings past 10, but then afterwards he said, just shut everything down, shut down all the synagogues. And I think that was a great move, because a lot of people here didn't realize how they can get it. I mean, people could be 10 feet from you and you could still end up getting it.
Yeah.
Because it's just the concentration in the air. You walk by and you breathe it in, and boom, you got it. I mean, that's how I myself got it somehow.
Are people wearing masks now as they go out?
Yeah, people are wearing masks, and also our mayor tried to institute that when somebody's going to a public place like a supermarket, that they have to wear masks. But he's getting a lot of pushback from New York State, and so he's now just asking people out of their own volition to wear masks. I absolutely wear a mask whenever I go out anywhere, and the main reason is, listen, I had it, and I don't think I can give it to anybody at this point, but better safe than sorry. So when I go to the supermarket, I wear gloves and I wear a mask.
Yeah, and so that's becoming the cultural norm.
It's becoming a cultural norm, and the really crazy thing about this is it's toughest for the kids, because the kids, all the schools closed down. Our school, thank God, has continuing education with a laptop.
But how many kids do you have, and how many laptops?
I have 4 kids, and I have, including the ones I brought from work, I have 4 laptops. Plus, my wife needs one for work. Plus, I need one. Plus, the school lent us a Chromebook also. Okay,
so because your youngest and your oldest aren't going to have similar materials, right?
Yeah. So yeah. But they've all got classes. Our school is magnificent in the sense that this is the Silverstein Hebrew Academy in Great Neck, New York, that they're continuing full steam ahead with education, and it's tough really for my youngest one, Shimon. He's 4 years old, and he had attention issues when he was in class. Now imagine he's in front of a screen, and the teacher is talking to him and to other students in a Zoom meeting where there's 15 or 20 kids on at the same time, and it's very, very difficult for him to pay attention. So you need somebody to sit there and constantly tell him, Shimon, you got to do this, you got to do that, and so on and so forth. But neither me or my wife have the time for that. So for the most part, he's the one that's at a loss. The other kids, they're mature enough that they can they can actually go to online school. And believe it or not, we know a lot of shluchim. This is, the Chabad shliachs all over the world, and their kids do online school all the time. I mean, from the time that they're little, because they don't have, a lot of them don't have, schools anymore. So now kids.
So these are the emissaries that go to places where they don't have the infrastructure for school. So the
infrastructure for Jewish school, yeah. And when they get older, they get shipped off to, a yeshiva somewhere where in New York and Australia and Israel, wherever it is. But while they're little, they have to go to online school.
Right.
And my kids right now are doing the same thing. And I think, listen, the credit is to the school on how fast they got this running. They saw it coming down the pipe, and so they got everything ready, like probably 3 weeks ahead of time. They had dry run sessions, and then on the first day there were a couple of quirks, but I think they did an amazing job getting it up and running.
Wow, that's
I think
amazing.
it's a model for what every school should do.
That's terrific. So now your wife is out delivering babies?
So my wife is got her office hours, and when she's on call, she delivers babies, and they changed the call schedule in the hospital so that, ordinarily my wife would be at home and she has to go in and deliver somebody. She'll go in and deliver somebody. Now, because they don't want people going in too much, what they do is they just get 4 docs on the labor floor, and those 4 docs are there for either 12 or 24 hours, and they take care of all the deliveries. So my wife will do, this past Monday, my wife was on call. She delivered her own 3 or 4 patients plus another. She said she lost count, but I think it was a total of like 9 patients. Yeah. And so this is how it's working now. Thank God that they're not repurposing them like they are.
Oh, lost you, Ilya. Ilya?
Hello? Did we cut off?
We got you back. Okay.
Okay. All right. So yeah. So they're repurposing. What was I saying? They're repurposing
some of the other doctors.
Yeah. Some of the other doctors in order to help with the COVID patients. So if you're a doctor that works for the hospital, you go into rotation, and chances are that you're going to have to spend a significant amount of time, even though it's not your specialty, to help intubate patients, right, to help with COVID patients, because the COVID patients are just taking over the hospitals.
Wow. So, well, we appreciate, what your wife does. I think we lost you again. Can you hear us, Ilya? Okay.
One second. Your cousin's calling me.
All right. Well, before we let you go, is there a message that you have for people? I think
the message to have for people is to, number one, keep a positive attitude. That's number one. Number two, to try to stay out of the hospital. So, I mean, to the extent that somebody can't breathe, obviously they have to go into the hospital. But if you can avoid going to the hospital, you really should, because the hospital is no place for anybody even remotely healthy at this point. And right. I think that the attention that they'll pay to any one patient is very little relative to how many COVID patients are coming in. So again, load up on vitamin C, do high dose vitamin C, have a positive attitude, drink a lot of water if you've got it, stay away from everybody else, and a good 87% of the people recover on their own, not having to go into the hospital.
Okay, beautiful. Well, thank you so much for spending some time with us, and wish you refuah shalema.
Thank you, Martin.
A healthy recovery, and we'll talk soon.
Yep, you will.
Thank you so much.
Stay safe.